Hello, everybody, and welcome in live to another edition of Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I am your host, Matthew Miller, tonight here on the 40 Acres live preview show. We do a post-game show after every game, and we do a preview show before every game. We usually do it on Tuesdays, guys. It's usually Texas Tuesdays right here on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college ball at 7:30. Today, we're doing it on Wednesday, and going forward, we will be doing it on Wednesday. There will be no more Texas Tuesdays. There will be 40 Acres live preview show every week, right here on Mark Rogers TV at 7:30, 7:40 Eastern time. Please hit that like button, subscribe down below. It really helps out the channel, guys. We're trying to grow the Texas channel, and we're trying to grow that Big 12 channel. So go over to the Big 12 channel, subscribe if you're on the Texas channel. Go over to the Texas channel and subscribe if you're on the Big 12 channel. It really helps out, guys. We have a massive game to talk about this week. We're also going to be talking about the BYU game a little bit before I get into that Kansas State game. So, guys, remember, I will be here after that Kansas State game. Win, lose, draw. There's no draw, but win or lose, I will be here. Before we do that, we do have a little bit of homework. If you're going to buy tickets, why not save money? Go over to ticketsmarter.com. Type in code BIG for $10 off a purchase of $100 or more. Type in code BIG20 for a purchase of $300. You get $20 off there. So please go over there and do that. Also, go over to our new SEC channel. Texas will be going to the SEC. Oklahoma will be going to the SEC. So if you want to follow those two schools, especially Texas, go over to that channel. Subscribe down below. Please do that, guys. And here we go. So Texas beats BYU 35-6 last week. Let's jump into that recap. Texas versus BYU recap. So Maalik Murphy, 16 of 25, 170 yards, 10.6 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. There were certain points in this game, guys, where I was really impressed by Maalik Murphy. There are certain throws he makes that most starting quarterbacks in college football cannot make. There was a throw to Ja'Tavion Sanders where he caught it with one hand and got nailed and held onto it. And it was a great throw. It wasn't a great throw for the position Ja'Tavion Sanders was in because he absolutely took a gigantic hit, was able to stay with that ball, somehow bring it down and bring it in. But it was a great throw. There was another throw later in the game that he made to, I believe it was Ja'Tavion Sanders again. It went over him, but it was if he just takes a little bit off of it, it's a perfect throw over 2 guys. So I really like that he's able to put the ball in positions that most guys can't. Now, he knows that too, guys. And the problem with that is he tries to do things with his arms that he probably shouldn't. There's a lot of Brett Favre in his game where he's like, I have a cannon and I'm going to throw it where I want to. Also, he has to throw off the proper platform. If he steps into his throws and is not throwing off his back foot, he can throw the ball 70, 80 yards down the field easily. If he doesn't, he actually doesn't have the strong, just natural arm like Quinn Ewers does, where Quinn can just kind of flick that thing and it gets going down the field. Maalik actually has to step into his throws, and there's no issue with that. But the problem is there's a lot of back foot throwing, and that bothers me. And that can lead to turnovers. The ball can sail on you if you're Maalik Murphy and you're throwing off your back foot. So he needs to avoid that in this game, especially versus Kansas State. He had the one really bad interception versus BYU, but that was more of a just like reading the defensive scheme type issue and trying to throw a ball where he shouldn't have, honestly. That had nothing to do with throwing off your back foot. But the throwing off your back foot will get him in trouble this game if that isn't fixed. That's really the only thing that can get fixed. He does have a long motion, guys, but you can't fix that in season. You're just not going to be able to fix that. That's off-season type work that he's going to have to do. And his motion has gotten better from high school. It isn't as wacky as it was back then. But overall, I think it was a C-plus game from Maalik Murphy. I think he's going to have to up that to a B-B type game for us to win this week, but good enough versus BYU. Jonathan Brooks does his thing again. 16 carries, 98 yards, 6.1 yards per carry. He was great again, per usual. 1 touchdown on the ground. He had 4 receptions, 40 yards, and almost had a touchdown through the air, too, if he was able to tightrope down that sideline, but he stepped out at the 2. He's going to put up over 120 yards in every game here on out. I really believe that, whether that's through the air or on the ground. He's just that good, guys. He's one of the 3 best running backs in America at this point. He's a guy that, in my opinion, we're probably only going to get to enjoy on the 40 acres for this year. I don't think he's going to be here next year. Unless his NIL package is really big, he will probably not be here. And honestly, I don't see it being big, seeing as we have Jaden Blue if he stays. We have Jarrett Gibson and Christian Clark, 2 top running backs coming into this class. We have Cedric Baxter already there. So there really is no need to overpay a guy like Jonathan Brooks. And in my opinion, I wish we would. I enjoy watching this man play football. I feel robbed that we didn't get to watch him play. At the same time, I got to watch Bijan Robinson play, so I really can't complain. But I said, and I'm going to keep saying this because I was the first one on this train. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care how many viewers I get. It's going to get out there at some point. I was the first one on this train. I said a year and a half ago to Mark on the main channel that Jonathan Brooks was going to put up better numbers than Bijan Robinson. And Mark looked at me funny, but I said he's not a better back. I said he's going to put up better numbers. And that's what he's done so far. And it's worked out. That's one of the best, honestly, one of the best predictions I've ever made anywhere. So I love Jonathan Brooks. I have a man crush on Jonathan Brooks. And I like the guy behind him too. I like CJ Baxter, but the guy behind him, I want to point this out. Jaden Blue had more yards on 5 less carries than CJ Baxter. Jaden Blue should get more playing time. Jaden Blue at this point is a better running back than CJ Baxter. I don't think he holds onto the ball well enough, and he wasn't as highly rated recruited because remember, he skipped his senior year of high school. If he didn't do that, he would have been recruited just as high as CJ Baxter. But this guy most likely transfers after this year, and I don't blame him. He's going to be really good wherever he does decide to go. I'm from Ohio. Let me tell you this. If Ohio State gets this man, he's going to blow up. And I have a feeling that he kind of fits because I think TreVeyon Henderson will probably move on to the NFL, and they really don't have a running back in this room like Jaden Blue. So that'd be a good fit for him, honestly. Let's move on to the wide receivers. A.D. Mitchell, this guy just will show. He did show up in this game. I'm not going to say he didn't. But he's inconsistent, guys, and he's inconsistent in games, and he's inconsistent game to game. This guy will show up in points in games where he's there and he catches 2 touchdowns. Then you won't see him. He had 3 receptions, 2 of them were touchdowns. You didn't see him the rest of the game. And then there are games where he has 1 reception. Next game he has 5 or 6 receptions. It's just weird. He needs to be more consistent. I don't have access to the all 22 film, so maybe he's open and he's just not getting the ball. Maybe he's not open. I have no idea, guys. It will be interesting to see what like his draft stock is going forward. I know he's getting mocked in the first round, but to me, if you're only putting up 3 for 59, you're not going to end up in the first round unless you put up insane combine numbers. And I don't see an insane 40 time from A.D. Mitchell. I could see an insane vert. I'm not going to see an insane 40 time from him. So that's going to be anything interesting. 120, that's nothing. OG2. Yeah, that's funny because Ollie Gordon, hey, wet blanket. Ollie Gordon's going off. He's I think it's Ollie Gordon, Jonathan Brooks, and then you can debate for the 3rd best running back in America. So it's cool to see. I don't know if I was right or wrong on Oklahoma State yet. I had them going, I think 7-5. If they lose this week, that's still possible. If they win this week, I was wrong. But yeah, that so far, good things from the Cowboys. JT Sanders, 4 receptions, 37 yards. They need to get him more involved. He's really slowed down since that ankle injury versus, I believe, Baylor. He really didn't show up in the Oklahoma game. Didn't show up last week. Didn't show up the week before versus Houston. Xavier Worthy, 4 receptions, 27 yards, but he did have the 1 punt return that was gigantic. We finally broke one off. We're able to break loose and get a touchdown there, so that was nice. And then on the defensive side, Jalen Ford was the leading tackler, 10 tackles for him. And then the defense was just flying around last week versus BYU, 11 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. I'd like to see those sack numbers about doubled in a game like this versus BYU, but overall, good job for the defense for flying around, getting 11 tackles for loss. That's very good. Interceptions, I believe Terrence Brooks had 1 and Michael Taff also had 1. I like Michael Taff in situations where he doesn't have to cover one-on-one. If you put Michael Taff one-on-one with people, whatever it is, he's going to get burnt. He is very good in a roaming type situation where he sees ball and goes and gets ball. He is not good one-on-one passing. We've seen that versus Baylor. We saw that versus Houston. Didn't see it versus BYU because they don't really have the tools to exploit you down the field. This Kansas State team, I don't know if they do either, but if they do, and we leave Michael Taff on whoever that is, if it's Phillip Brooks, Ben Sinnott at the tight end position / fullback position, we will get exposed there. That is our weakness, and we'll get in that later when we talk Kansas State. But obviously, Texas fans know our safeties are our weakness, and you cannot have Keaton Crawford and Michael Taff on the field at the same time. I've been saying that for about 2 weeks now. That is a recipe for disaster. You're going to have to mix and match there. Hopefully, Jalen Catalon can come back and play 15 plays in this game. He's week to week still, is what Steve Sarkisian says, so that would be big. Justice Finkley, best game at Texas. Best game. He forced a fumble. He was all around the field, in the backfield. He was very good this week for Texas. next up, we're going to be talking about the Texas and Kansas State game. But before I do that, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Again, guys, we're trying to build more people here. I think I provide pretty good analysis, and I'm not getting enough people in here. Like it, subscribe to the channels, share it out. Please, guys, I want like 100 people in here. If we have 100 people in here, I'm willing to stay on for 2 hours. Hell, I'm willing to stay on for 3 hours, but I need more people in here, guys. So please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Share it out with your friends, family, significant others, whoever you want. Share it out to your neighbor. If you like your neighbor, you've seen him, talk to him once in your life, share it out to him, show it to him. This is for every and all fan bases, not just Texas fan bases, but I do cater to Texas fans. But please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. And then we will jump into, in my opinion, the biggest game of the year, or most important for Texas. And this could be a debate. It's the biggest game of Steve Sarkisian's tenure here at Texas. So let's jump into it, guys. Kansas State. This is a very good Kansas State team. Very good Kansas State team. Kansas State is 6-1 on the year, or 6-2 on the year. Sorry, they have one loss in the Big 12, and that is to Oklahoma State in a game where they were riddled by turnovers. But if you look at computer rankings, if you look at efficiency rankings, they're in the top 20 in basically every statistical thing you look at that makes the team good. This is a good football team, and Kansas State peaks at the middle and end of seasons. They always struggle at the beginning, so I don't really care what the record is. This is a good team, and I'm scared of this game. It's, in my opinion, the hardest game left on the schedule. I think the second hardest is Iowa State. If we win those two games, I think we'll be in the Big 12 championship. If we don't, we're not going to be in the Big 12 championship. Kansas State, 37.4 points per game, is 13th in the country out of 133 teams. On defense, 15.9 points per game, 14th in the country out of 133 teams. They're top 15 in both, guys. This is a very good football team. I'm going to echo that a lot. Their strength of record is 11th in the country, and their strength of schedule is 32nd. So they've played good teams. They beat good teams. They put up good numbers versus good teams. So, again, good football team. Quarterback position, again, they're kind of going back and forth. Will Howard, Avery Johnson. Will Howard, 63.7% completion percentage, 7.6 yards per attempt, 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Those are not elite numbers, but they are good enough numbers with the defense and offensive line this team has. Avery Johnson, 72.4%, 9.2 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He is a threat to run the ball as well. To me, Avery Johnson has the best arm out of these two. I think he can push the ball down the field. He also has the better legs. Will Howard is a better down-to-down football player than Avery Johnson right now. But if you're telling me if someone is going to beat me in 5 to 6 plays in this game, that's going to be Avery Johnson. I don't believe Will Howard on a down-to-down basis is going to be able to move the ball enough and score enough points versus our defense. It's going to be Avery Johnson. He's going to hit us with the splash play, and we need to contain those splash plays. I think we can allow one. We can get away with one, and we've seen that. We've seen Kansas hit a splash play. We've seen Alabama hit a splash play. We've seen other teams in the past games hit splash plays, but we usually contain them at one, and then we pull away. What you saw in the Houston game is they hit consistent splash plays down the field and kept the game tight until the end. If Kansas State does that, they will keep the game tight. And if we make turnovers with Malik Murphy back there, they could blow us out. So we have to contain that to 1. They can have 1. Do not get freaked out if they have 1. But that cannot be consistent in this game for us to win the game. That is not a recipe for us. And this team isn't explosive, guys. So if we're giving up multiple splash plays, they're going to beat us. At the running back positions, I like both these guys. They're not Deuce Vaughn, but they are very good players in DJ Giddens and Trayshawn Ward, the Florida State transfer. DJ Giddens, 722 yards, 6.2 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns, 240 yards receiving, 11.4 yards per catch, and 1 touchdown. Trayshawn Ward, 450 yards, 5.3 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, 13 receptions, 104 yards, 8 yards per catch, and 2 touchdowns. They scare me in the passing game. No team has been able to run on us. I think Kansas State will be better than most because they have a very good offensive line. I think I had them rated going into the season as the second or third best offensive line unit in the Big 12, and I stand by that. They may be first. I know I had Texas 1, and I believe I had either West Virginia or Kansas State 2. Those are the top 3 units offensive line-wise in the Big 12. Interchange them however you want, but those are top 3. And These guys scare me. Again, not rushing, but catching the ball, especially versus our linebackers. If there's a second weakness to our defense, it's linebackers in coverage. So far, no one has exploited it. Does that mean that's not possible? No. I believe Chris Klieman is a very good coach. He's won at every level. He's been at 5 or 6 national championships at the FCS level. I think, and Kansas State in the past with Deuce Vaughn has done a good job throwing the ball downfield with him, throwing the ball off screens with him. If you're going to beat us with the running backs, I think that's the way to do it. I don't think you're going to be able to run very well versus us. No one really has other than Oklahoma with Dillon Gabriel. And again, if they're going to run the ball, it's going to be really well. It's going to be with Avery Johnson or Will Howard at the quarterback position, most likely Avery Johnson. I'm not really scared of these guys again rushing, but throwing I am. Wide receivers and tight end, Phillip Brooks, Ben Sinnott. That's what you need to know. Phillip Brooks is their best wide receiver with 437 yards, 11.2 yards per catch, and 3 touchdowns. And then Ben Sinnott, 27 catches, 364 yards, 13.5 yards per catch, and 3 touchdowns. Those guys are Ben Sinnott in particular versus the linebackers. I said Isaac Rex last week. BYU, honestly, they're just not a good football team. They're not. They'll probably go 6-6. And Ben Sinnott is a very good tight end. He will play in the NFL. And he might be able to exploit our linebackers. Again, no one really has tested. It's kind of weird to me. Maybe it's because our safeties are so weak, so they kind of just ignore, yeah, we can exploit that, but their safeties are so bad. Let's exploit that instead. But Sinnott and the running backs versus our linebackers and safeties are going to be a key to me for Kansas State. If we can just keep them from having explosive plays downfield, which honestly, they don't even try to push the ball downfield, but if they did, they could probably do it. And if they're smart, they will do that because they've seen on tape that it can be taken advantage of. Those are the guys that I'm scared of to do it. Next up, we got to talk about it. Their O-line. Cooper Beebe leads the way. He made the All Big 12 team. I believe there was another offensive lineman they had on the All Big 12 team preseason, but he's the main guy. Very good offensive line unit. Probably the best offensive line we're going to play all year. The only one that comes close is Alabama. Alabama talent-wise is better than Kansas State, I think, but in production, Kansas State's better. I don't give a shit what your stars are when I watch the tape, when I watch the games, Kansas State's a better offensive line. So this is the best offensive line we're going to play. On top of that, they have a very good defense. Let's touch on that a little bit. Kobe Savage at safety, 43 tackles, leads the team. Linebacker Austin Moore also has 43 tackles, so those guys are tied. Austin Moore at the linebacker position that has 9 tackles for loss, leads the team. So those are 2 guys to watch out for. And then on the defensive line, you have Khalid Duke and Nate Matlock. Those are the guys getting after the quarterback you have to pay attention to. 5 sacks for Duke, 4 sacks for Matlock. Just an all-around solid team. They're not fantastic at anything, but they're good at everything. And I think Chris Klieman is like a Honda engine. I drive a Honda. I think it's reliable, it's easy to take care of, and it's easy to replace things when they're going wrong. And that's exactly what he's done here. He's created a system to which you can interplace parts, but it works perfectly because it's simple and effective. And that's exactly what this team is, guys. They're not going to beat themselves. They're smart and they're methodical. And we have to get them off the field on 3rd down. We'll get in the keys to victory in a second, but I do have a comment. What's up, Longhorn Nation? Hey, Jackson Johnson. Thank you for being here again tonight. Can you please hit that like button? Please subscribe down below. Share this out, Jackson, too. The show doesn't get enough love. I need more love, Jackson. I'm putting you in charge of it. No, I'm kidding. But please do that, Jackson. Thank you for being here tonight. So, keys to victory, guys. We're going to talk Kansas State and Texas keys to victory. We'll start out with Texas. Do not turn the ball over. Kansas State is going to bleed this clock most likely. This is a dink and dunk team. They're not explosive. And if you turn the ball over and allow them to hold on to the ball longer than they can, just with the possessions they're going to get, that's going to cost you to lose this game. Malik, you got to take care of the ball. You had 2 turnovers last week. I'm not asking you to play perfect, which means a perfectly clean game. We cannot have more than 1 turnover. We get 1. Anything more than that, Kansas State's winning this game because I think our defense can force a turnover too. But we have to win the turnover battle. We have to. We can't break even. We have to win the turnover battle. There's an argument to be made without Quinn Ewers. Kansas State is the better team in this game. You can make that argument. I'm not going to get angry with you. Okay, guys. Next up, red zone. Red zone offense. Texas is 114th in the country in red zone offense. I believe they average like 3.8 yards per red zone possession. That is terrible. It's not good. There's 133 teams in college football. That means there's 19 teams who are worse. 19. That's not acceptable with Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, Jatavian Sanders, Jonathan Brooks, and others. Plus, you have Steve Sarkisian, who I think is a top 3 offensive coordinator in college football, a top 10 offensive mind in football, period. That's not acceptable. You can't be that bad on in red zone. And this has gotten Sark in trouble before. He was with the Atlanta Falcons. And they were not great in the red zone. If this continues this year, to me, Steve Sarkisian should hire a coach just for red zone offense. You can run the offense in between the 20s. You know why? Because it's been damn good in between the 20s. One of the 15 best in college football. You can't have these issues in the red zone. Kansas State is 6th in red zone defense. So on top of our struggles, we're going against one of the best in the red zone in the country. The next key, exploit Kansas State secondary. It's their weakest part, especially their corners. I like their safeties, downhill players, but I do like them. But their cornerbacks are their weakest part. We have to attack them down the field consistently to keep them honest and then soften them up so we can run the ball. I have a feeling Kansas State is probably going to load the box and say, Malik, you're going to have to throw 30 times to beat us. Can Malik do that? Yes. Do I know if he can do that? No. I've seen enough tape. I know the talent. He can. Will he? We'll see. And I think that's what they're going to do, guys. They would be smart to do that because, in my opinion, I've said it for about 3 weeks now, Jonathan Brooks is our most consistent and best player on offense. He is. And if you can stop him and put the ball in Malik Murphy's hands, then there's going to be issues. There really is. So it's going to be interesting if Malik can come up to the challenge and beat him and meet those standards. I agree with you, Jackson. Kansas State is very scary. Next up, we're going to be talking about Kansas State's keys to victory. Kansas State, rushing the ball. This team wants to dink and dunk you down the field, whether that's rushing consistently with 3 to 4 yards per carry or screens, slants, drags, mesh concepts out the wazoo. I mean, that's what they're going to do, guys. And to me, if Texas is going to play off coverage where you're giving 5 to 7 yards cushion off these wide receivers, I'm going to be very angry. These guys are not explosive. They're not even going to try to really be explosive. They're going to want to time of possession and death by 1,000 cut you. So play press coverage and light up the quarterbacks early, in my opinion, to get them skittish and contain Avery Johnson when he's in the pocket. Make him a pocket passer. I know he has a 74% completion percentage, but he hasn't been put in the position enough to throw the ball to where those numbers would come down to what I think he is. I think right now, if Avery Johnson was throwing 25 to 30 times a game, he's going to complete 58 to 62% of his passes. That's what I think by watching him. But if you're going to allow him to escape and then hit play action shots, you're going to have issues. Please keep him in the pocket, play press coverage, and make them throw deep. That's the funny thing people don't talk about. Nick Saban, why he's been so good is he knows most college quarterbacks can't throw the deep ball. So what does he do? Press coverage, beat me over the top. If you beat me over the top, here's the win. It's that simple. That's why we were able to beat him. That's why Joe Burrow was able to beat him. That's why Johnny Manziel and those guys were able to beat him. They were able to exploit deep. Most teams can't. And that's what we knew versus Kansas State. If you want to be able to hit 4 to 5 passes 30 yards downfield, you win the game. And you'll probably beat us by a lot. But guess what? I don't think they can. So please make them do that, Texas. Okay, next up, scoring in the red zone. I really think this game is going to be who plays better in the red zone. Kansas State, 3rd best red zone offense. Texas, 2nd best red zone defense. And I just told you, 114th red zone offense for Texas, 6th red zone defense for Kansas State. If Texas breaks even in the red zone in this game where they're scoring the same amount of points and the same amount of trips, we win the game. If Kansas State outscores us, they probably win the game. When we're in the red area, we have to score points. When they're in the red area, we have to hold them to field goals. Period. It's the biggest deal in this game, especially when I don't know how many possessions each team is going to get. I really think Kansas State's going to try to squeeze the clock when they have the ball. That's what they always do, and I think they're especially going to do it now because they know how potent we are on offense. And then avoid turnovers. And Kansas State's only Big 12 loss of the season, they had 3 turnovers versus Oklahoma State. They have to avoid those turnovers. They're very costly, especially in a game like this. And a game I think is going to come down. I think it's a 1-possession football game. Whether that means it's going to be between 1 and 8 points, guys. 1 and 8 points. I really believe that. I think the spread is 4.5. which basically Vegas is saying on a neutral field we're favored by 0.5 point to 1, which is a toss-up. And I don't disagree with that. With Quinn Ewers, I think we win. I will say, though, Chris Klieman has never beaten Texas, and styles do make fights. And with all the motion and weird formations that Steve Sarkisian does come up with, that does seem to throw Kansas State for a fit. For whatever reason, I don't know why it does. I'm hoping he can draw something up from Malik, especially early on, to get him confidence, show stuff that we have not showed yet, and take an early lead. I think that's a big key, too, for Texas. You need to be up early. If we get down 10-0, guys, they're going to win this game. Kansas State is. I don't see Texas coming back from 10-0 with Malik at quarterback. What did you think about the initial 2023 college football rankings? Do you think Texas should be in the top 5? I thought Texas should be ahead of Oregon. I think we have better wins than Oregon. I think we have we beat Alabama and Kansas. I think those are better than, let's see, Oregon's beating Utah, and I don't think Utah's that good. I think if I'm ranking 1 through 33, I think Utah's like the 35th to 40th best team in the country. I think they're basically as good as Kansas, and I think Alabama's way better than anyone Oregon has beaten. So I think we should have been ahead of them. What would that would make us 6th. I would have been fine with 6th. I think we should be 6th, but it is what it is. If we win out, we're going to get in. Unless every team in front of us goes undefeated, which I don't see that happening, other than obviously Michigan and Ohio State will split. And yes, what you just said, Jackson, especially the Bama win in Tuscaloosa, that's the best win in college football. Texas has the best win in college football, period. We have the best win in college football. It was on the road versus the number 8 ranked team. Washington won at home versus Oregon. If that's on the road, I would give it to them. We were on the road. That's the best win in college football. We have it. Guys, I do have to pick a winner in this game. I have Texas going 10-2 on the year. That was my preview. I didn't have us losing to Kansas State, and I'm not going to have us losing to Kansas State. I have Texas in this game, 31-26 Texas. I think it's a hell of a game. I'm excited to watch it. I'm going to be nervous as hell. May not get much sleep Friday night, but I am very excited to watch it. We need Quinn back. I just can't wait until Quinn's back, because if Quinn's back, I think we win this game by 10 points or more. I really do. We are just a bad matchup for Kansas State, but I don't know how Malik's going to perform. I know how Quinn would perform. He performed last year very well in this game, and this was on the road versus a team that I think they're basically even last year. Kansas State was better record-wise, but even. I think we have a better team this year. And Quinn's gotten better, so I wish he was healthy. We need him back for the Iowa State game. I think we can beat TCU either way. I don't think TCU is very good. But I do have Texas winning 31-26 versus Kansas State. Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. I will be here Saturday, 3:30, 4 o'clock. I'll probably be on the main channel, honestly, too, since it's after the game, a big game. So please follow, like the content. Please, 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 guys. And I'll jump into these comments before I go. Nobody in non-conference play beats Bama and Tuscaloosa, and that was the first time since 2007 that it happened. Exactly, and that's why it's the best win, Jackson. And on that note, guys, these Texas Longhorns do have the best win in college football. I'm hoping these Texas Longhorns win on Saturday. Hit that like button. Subscribe down below. Hook them, guys. 31-26 Texas over Kansas State.